What's up, guys? Fantasy Joe here, hopping into a Dynasty Mock draft. If you are new to the channel, please drop a subscribe down below. Helps us out if you like the video, or comment if you have any questions as well. This is a basic Dynasty League. We're going to snake draft. We got the fourth pick. We did a random. Got one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, one tight end, one flex. Without any more, let's get into it. So yeah, obviously this is a Dynasty mock draft, so we're going to be factoring in guys' ages a lot, things like that. Let's see who has been taken so far. Okay, so far, McCaffrey went at 1, Jonathan Taylor went at 2, and Devontae Adams went at 3. So as far as the top running backs available, Saquon, Dalvin Cook, Kamara, Derrick Henry. Receiver, we got Tyreek Hill, DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson. And this might be a surprise pick. I think I'm actually, Saquon has had injury issues in the past. He's only 24, but still has already basically missed a season and a half, and he's only played a season and a half. Dalvin Cook's also had some injury issues. So I think I'm actually going to go with Tyreek Hill. Over the last 3 seasons, he's finished as wide receiver 1 and 2 in 2 of those 3 seasons. So I'm going to draft him. He's only 26. Pair him with Patrick Mahomes for the next several years and feel good about it. So since we're the fourth pick and it's a snake draft, we'll have a decent wait until our next pick. Okay, so here we are. Let's go over who's all was taken. So we took Tyreek Hill, and then Saquon went, Dalvin Cook went, Kamara went, A.J. Brown went, DK Metcalf, Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins, Nick Chubb, George Kittle, Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, DeAndre Swift, and Travis Kelce. So the top available players on the board right now, we've got Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins, Zeke, Myles Sanders, Josh Jacobs, Antonio Gibson, Austin Eckler at running back. And at wide receiver, we got Stefon Diggs, Calvin Ridley, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin. The only guy wasn't planning on starting receiver, but the only guy I feel like Cam Akers could be a stud next year, but I mean there's still a chance that they use him in a running back by committee. They talked about doing that a little bit in LA last offseason. I do think it's gonna be Cam Akers' job, but I just think there's a chance there. But I think I'm gonna draft Stefon Diggs and pair him with Tyreek Hill just because I feel like he's so much better than all the receiver options. Like, Stefon Diggs is a huge improvement to me compared to Calvin Ridley. And none of these backs I'm that crazy about. And honestly, the backs I like the most on this list are Josh Jacobs, Antonio Gibson, Eckler, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, James Robinson. I have all these guys ranked a little bit higher than a lot of these guys. Cam Akers I have ranked a little bit higher, but I think he's just a little bit too rich for me here. So I'm going to draft Stefon Diggs, and we're going to see who we can get at the running back position and at their short wait. Okay, so we only had to wait 6 picks. So as far as running back, the only people that went were Zeke, J.K. Dobbins, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, Allen Robinson, and Cam Akers. So I'm going to take Austin Eckler here. I really like him. He's got a nice contract. Signed up for the next several years. Wasn't getting a huge workload before. Get to pair him with Justin Herbert for the next several years. I like that. Another guy I consider would be Clyde, James Robinson. If James Robinson had any capital invested into him, I might consider drafting him. But for my first running back, an undrafted free agent, it's a little bit startling, honestly. Eckler at least has the contract to say that he's going to continue to get the ball, and he's a very talented player. Antonio Gibson I also considered here just because I think Gibson is going to get all the pass-catching down work next year in Washington. I know it was a shortened offseason. I think that's a big reason why he wasn't utilized more heavily in that part of the game plan, just because his skill set is so he's a very adept pass catcher. So I think when they start using him in the pass catching game, I think he's a guy who could get close to 60 receptions next year. And if he does that along with his rushing workload, he's going to be an absolute beast for fantasy. With that said, though, I think we'll take Austin Eckler here as our RB1. So we got, through the first 3 rounds, we got Tyreek Hill, Stefon Diggs as our 2 wide receivers, and then we got Austin Eckler as our running back. Honestly, if you told me that I'd be able to snag Austin Eckler as my running back and be able to start my draft with, be able to start my draft with 2 stud receivers like Tyreek Hill and Stefon Diggs and be able to get Austin Eckler as my first running back, I would take that all day. Okay, so let's see. First quarterback went off the board. Mahomes was taken. I'm going to stop reading off all the picks. You can see them here on this left side of the screen if you want to see who's been taken since I took Eckler exactly. But, yeah. The interesting thing, though, Najee Harris and Travis Etienne were both picked since since our last pick. As far as the running back options, James Robinson's still available. David Montgomery's available. Kareem Hunt's available. Ronald Jones, Chris Carson, A.J. Dillon. The only receiver I would think about taking here, honestly, let's see how old. Mike Evans is only 27. Same with Galladay. The only receiver I would really consider here, I think, is Mike Evans, maybe. Jessica's still 27. I feel like I get 3 to 5 more really good years about him. And as far as this process of a dynasty league, I really don't look too much farther down the road than 3 years. I feel like once you start trying to do anything more than that, you're really, really, really guessing. I mean, even just year to year, it's so hard to guess who's going to move in and out of the top 12 and who's going to stay inside the top 12 of their position or wherever you're drafting them, you know. But, yeah, so I don't really try to look. And Mike Evans, I think he'll be a dog until he's 30. I think he's got 3 more years left of prime football in him at least. Maybe another 2 after that until he's 32. Maybe he's too old, you know. Maybe he has an injury a year from now, though. He's not the same player, just saying. But I think I'm going to load up on running back here since I did just go. So I'm just so confident in my 2 receivers. Sure, I can throw Mike Evans in the flex, but I think I'm actually going to draft James Robinson here. I just think that, yes, he's undrafted and doesn't have the capital invested in him, but with Trevor Lawrence coming there, I think, and as my RB2, I feel really good about the position my roster is in to win. And that's the thing, it's like the age of my roster right now is 26 years old with Tyreek Hill, 27 with Stefon Diggs. Austin Eckler's a young running back with not a whole lot of work on his body. I feel like I draft James Robinson, I get another young running back who, you know, who knows? Maybe he's just a stud his whole career. Maybe this was a flash in the pan. But here in the 4th round, I'm willing to take a shot on him. Even if I only get a good year of production from him and next year he's done, I mean, you know, at the running back position, that's how a lot of these guys go. That's the reason I took Tyreek Hill over a lot of those running backs, is because I was just worried, let's say I take a Dalvin Cook. Let's say I drafted Dalvin Cook, and Dalvin Cook suffers a big-time injury next year, is never the same player. I think wide receivers are less subject to those big-time, career-ending type of injuries usually. And they usually end up playing a little while longer, too, so that's why. Next up, at running back, David Montgomery, Kareem Hunt, Ronald Jones, Chris Carson. A.J. Dillon, who I really like. He was who I was just hoping would make it back to me. I'm probably going to draft him here. We're going to take a look at one guy, though, before we do, and that's Jamar Chase. Just to see where they have him in the pool. Okay, so there's a chance we could maybe get him next round or something. I think he'll probably get taken, but I'm going to take A.J. Dillon here. My screen wants to keep scrolling down for some reason. I'm going to take A.J. Dillon here as my flex. I think he's going to be the guy in Green Bay this year. Okay, so we're going to draft A.J. Dillon. They use a 2nd-round pick on him. I think he's a guy who's a good flex for this year and is both good long-term. And let's say, like we said, James Robinson doesn't turn out. I'd rather you be able to plug in A.J. Dillon next year into that spot. You'd be able to find a new flex. Okay, so let's take a look at the best guys available now. Justin Herbert's still available. I really like him as far as young quarterbacks go. I mean, Joe Burrow's also young, obviously, but Dak is 27. He's a great player. Probably ends his career in Dallas, but currently doesn't have a long-term deal. So it's just like, if he moves somewhere else next season, am I crazy excited about him? I mean, right now, as far as his receiving options, he's got Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup. He's pretty stacked there with a good O-line. I'm probably going to wait on quarterback then. Hopefully try to snag Herbert, get a young signal caller who could be my quarterback potentially for the next 10 years and could put up huge fantasy numbers. I think he's just a guy who could be extremely good. Looking at the running back, the only guy I really like is Myles Gaskin, although I think that they could go in a different direction this offseason very easily. I like Debo too. Thought about drafting him. Nothing crazy available at tight end. I'll go with Myles Gaskin. Now we got 16 picks until our next. Oh no! This is a short turn. Justin Herbert went though in those picks. Just to put in, Jamar Chase went right after we picked A.J. Dillon, so we were right. He was about to go right around that pick, about that range. But let's see if we can't. Yeah, Devonta Smith is still available. I'm not equally as excited about Jamar Chase as I am to Devonta Smith, but I put them in that same category. They had very similar seasons. Devonta Smith in 2020 compared to Jamar Chase's 2019, which was the last year Jamar Chase, we saw him play college football. So I've got a lot of excitement for him there. Ooh, I really like that Will Fuller was available here as a depth receiver. I feel pretty good about my running back position for starting wide receiver. So I'm going to go with Will Fuller here and build some more depth. I think there's a really good chance that he ends up with Houston after he got suspended. I think they'll be able to get some kind of contract discount on him probably. Okay, our next up. Quarterbacks have really started to go. Jalen Hurts is available, Baker Mayfield, Matthew Stafford, Tua, Wentz. I might go quarterback here pretty soon. I think Jalen Hurts, there's a big drop-off after Jalen Hurts comes off the board, honestly, with the rest of these guys. I like Stafford for this year, but he's a guy who, you don't know that Jalen Hurts is going to be the guy in Philly either. But I feel very confident that Jalen Hurts is going to produce for fantasy as long as he's a starter there. That's a pretty easy position as far as replaceability goes, so I could find somebody else or draft another one of these guys down on this list. Like, let's say I take Jalen Hurts, stack him with a guy like a Derek Carr or a Jameis Winston in New Orleans next year with Michael Thomas and some of the weapons that they have there in that offense. I think he could potentially be a guy you could buy low on. I mean, for goodness sakes, Taysom Hill right now is ranked higher than him, and I don't think Taysom Hill is going to be the starter. Michael Gallup's a guy I like too. He's a free agent after this year, I'm pretty sure, so he could potentially go to a good situation. Corey Davis. I know he's a free agent, but he had a very, very, very good year last year. And you know what? This is a mock draft. I'm going to take Corey Davis here, and I'm going to see if I can get Dallas Goedert or Jalen Hurts with my next pick. Okay, they're both here. So let's look at the tight ends. I wouldn't honestly, there's not a big, with Dallas Goedert with Jalen Hurts, honestly takes a pretty big downgrade, and I think there's a good chance that they draft. Like, they could go Kyle Pitts at number 6 or something like that, go tight end. So I'm going to draft Jalen Hurts here, get the quarterback for my team. Yeah. I feel really good about my starting lineup right now. I feel like I've got a lot of good options. And, like, let's say A.J. Dillon isn't the starter, or let's say James Robinson takes a decline back. It's like I can slide in a Myles Gaskin if he's the guy in Miami. Could slide a Will Fuller into my flex. Corey Davis. I feel really good about all of those guys. Oh, and Dallas Goedert came back to us, so we're going to take him here. Get our tight end. Get that Jalen Hurts, Dallas Goedert stack. Get it going. Okay, let's see. Robert Tanyan is an interesting option, I think, in fantasy, just because he caught so many touchdowns this year. I mean, the Packers, you'd think they would bring in a wide receiving option soon to help out Aaron Rodgers, but last season they didn't. Maybe they don't again this offseason. That's a possibility, certainly. But if they don't, I think he's a guy who could, catch 8 touchdowns again next year. This is a little bit down the pick. I was thinking about taking Philip Lindsay here, but I saw that Rashaad Penny was still available, think there's an outside chance Rashaad Penny is the guy this year in Seattle, because currently Chris Carson's a free agent, and he still has a year left on his deal. He's a first-round pick, so I'm just going to draft him on the off chance he's the guy in Seattle this year. Even though Dynasty is, a game that's in theory played forever as long as your league lasts, I think snagging a guy like Penny, who might be good just for this year. I mean, maybe he has a stud year and Seattle re-signs him or somebody signs him. But for all intents and purposes, if he has any fantasy value at all, it would probably be this season. But if he does, he could, he has a potential of being a 300 carry back. I'm getting him this late around. I think that's a high upside pick. Same thing with Corey Davis. I don't know where Corey Davis is going to land, but Corey Davis was just so good last year. If he lands in a good place, I could have an every week starter on my hands. I've got him this round, and then maybe I take a Stefon Diggs or a Tyreek Hill a year from now and package him with an A.J. Dillon and go upgrade and get a big-time running back and plug one of these guys in there, I think that's one of the ways I think about Dynasty. Okay, so let's see who is available. I'm glad I went Penny there too, because a lot of these running backs I really, really, really have no interest in, to be honest with you. Mecole Hardman's a guy I've got some interest in. Alan Lazard's another guy. Antonio Brown. I think people are sleeping on Antonio Brown. I think that he's going to go somewhere and be very good this year right away, honestly. And with that said, I'm going to draft him here, not let him get any farther. I think he's got a lot left in the tank. I think the only thing he is kind of hanging over his head is I think he'll have his court date sometime next year, I do believe. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't researched that situation a great deal, but that's something that may potentially why he's pushed down this way. But I think he's definitely worth the shot there. Okay. So, Jonnu Smith, who's a free agent, I think he could go somewhere like the Patriots or somewhere like that, or somewhere where he's a bigger part of the passing game. I think there's a good chance somebody pays him this offseason. So, I'm going to take him here in case Dallas Goedert doesn't work out. I'd rather take him there just because I feel like he's a very athletic tight end. He's one of the few guys, I think, who has a chance of breaking in that top 5 tight end range if he was ever given the chance. I think Dallas Goedert could be that guy too. And he is being given the chance, so that's why I took him earlier. But we don't know where Jonnu lands, but if he lands in the right location, he could be very good for fantasy next year. Okay, I was going to, like I said, I'm going to snag another quarterback here just in case things don't work out with Hurts. Tom Brady is still available. I know it's Dynasty, but you know what? I will snag Brady, actually. Stack Brady with Hurts for this season. If you're in a Dynasty league, I mean, why not create that stack? Because Jalen Hurts could come out and have top 5 potential QB this year. And if he doesn't, Brady threw 40 touchdowns last year. He's going to be an offense with a lot of those weapons. Godwin and Mike Evans are both probably going to be back.